נפשי שובב ינחני במגלי צדק למען שמו, קמתי לך בגיא צל מוות, לא ירא רע כי אתה עמדי. שבטך משענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דישנת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. טוב וחסד ירדיפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever.
There will be many individuals who will be coming and sharing thoughts with us, sharing memories with us, but we have to acknowledge the reality of this moment, the reality that Noah died before his time, that Noah died entirely too young, that Noah died and parents shouldn't bury their children. There's a poet, Chaim Nachman Bialik, from an Israeli poet who wrote a poem that acknowledged this moment and this situation. There was a man, behold, he is no more. He died before his time. The music of his life suddenly stopped. What a pity. There was another song in him, and now lost forever is that song. What a great pity. This man had a harp, a living, speaking soul. It gave utterance to the secrets of his heart, making all its strings vibrate, save one he kept within himself. Back and forth his supple fingers danced. One string alone remained still unheard. My friends, the presence of so many of you is a reflection of Noah and his family, and there are many who have been asked to speak. We're going to begin, just keep in mind if you don't remember your order, we'll begin with Noah's uncle Stephen Seltzer, Noah's law school friends Jessica Frankel, Alexa Kleinberg, Christy Boulay, some of Noah's very best friends, Mike Knoll, Jamie Sugarman, David Gordon, Sebastian Saul. Mike is going to be reading a piece from another friend, Aidan Havas, and then his immediate family, sister Jenna, of course Michelle, and Norman on behalf of he and Karen. So we invite Stephen.
Thank you, Rabbi. I had the honor of being Noah's uncle and the honor of having Karen as my sister and Norman as my brother-in-law. I wrote down some words that I believe describe Noah, at least to me. Strong character, gentle, sweet, sensitive, modest, highly intelligent, principled, empathetic, respectful, other-directed, disciplined, selfless, accomplished, good-natured, fun-loving, family-minded, friendly, courageous, and above all, loving. I learned a lot simply by being in Noah's presence. Noah will be sorely missed by all of us whose lives he touched, and there were many of us. Lastly, I recently came upon these words. When someone becomes a memory, that memory becomes a treasure. Noah, rest in peace.
I'm going to invite Jessica and Alexa and Christy to share words from law school. Don't take it personally. There you go.
I'm sure. Noah, I love you more than anything, and I knew that I wanted to be your best friend 1L year, but everyone was hogging you because you are so special, so we became best friends 2L year. I was the only person in my section from New York, and he took me in with open arms. No judgment, just laughter and love, and I will forever miss our 3 a.m. calls, just talking about life and his selfies and all the food that he would cook for him and Michelle late at night. Our lives will never be the same, and he took a piece of me on September 9th, and I will miss him forever. I'm asking everyone here today to continue to always speak about Noah, to continue to always tell everyone how special Noah is, and maybe watch a Heat game every now and then and text him the scoreboard. Go Heat. I love you, Noah. Thank you.
When I was in my second year of law school, I went over our friend Christy's house one day to study. Little did I know that this simple invitation would lead me to meet Noah. He was there, and it didn't take long for us to realize that he was light years smarter than any one of us. But Noah was more than just a brilliant mind. He had a way of finding the silver lining in what, at least for me, were some of the most challenging times of my life. During our time in quarantine, while preparing for the bar exam, we practically spent every day together for 2 straight months, from dusk to dawn. Noah made the burdensome studying bearable with his constant humor. Seriously, he had an endless supply of jokes that turned studying into something almost resembling fun. In short, Noah was more than a friend or a study partner. He was my confidant, someone I deeply respected, and someone I trusted unconditionally. Noah's passing leaves a void in all of our lives. He was someone who genuinely made the world a better and brighter place. I want to express my gratitude to Michelle for sharing Noah with all of us. We love him dearly. They say when someone passes, their soul remains with us. I believe that Noah will always be part of us. As we gather here today with heavy hearts and tears in our eyes to say goodbye to Noah, let's all remember Noah's ability to find humor in life's challenges and to help us laugh even during the toughest and most difficult times. Rest in peace, Noah.
I had the honor of meeting Noah my 1L year. It was law school orientation week, and he was going around asking people what law section they were part of to see if he can get some insight on what to expect. It was then that we found out that we were part of the same section. And he proceeded to go around, ask some professors who was assigned to our class, see if he can get some insight on what to expect in the next 3 years. Needless to say, there was no professor who would have been able to tell me what to expect in the years to come with such an amazing human by my side.
From that day on, we became inseparable. We started a study group and called ourselves the Nerd Wagon. We even engraved some pencils with the name on it. Without Noah, law school would have not only been dreadful, but unbearable. Without his random dance breaks to pump up the jam, or constant debates regarding the rules against perpetuity. But time flew by and then graduation came, when things usually come to a stop and you naturally part ways with classmates. Not with Noah, though. We still hung out as often as possible and kept each other in the loop of what was going on in our lives. He even helped me close on my first home, giving it proper housewarming. He was one of the silliest, kindest, and most positive, upbeat people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting, indeed. A unique and one-of-a-kind person. So thank you so much to his family for raising such a wonderful human and such an amazing friend. And thank you, Noah, for everything you've done, for the memories you've left, and for giving me something that makes saying goodbye oh so very hard. Rest in peace.
Again, we're going to invite up some of Noah's very best friends, Mike Knoll, Jamie Sugarman, David Gordon, and Sebastian Saul.
I have known Noah for my whole life. There are only 2 people my age that are not family that I can say that about. Through all that time, Noah has been one of my best friends, so it's safe to say that Noah played a large part shaping the person I am today. We've been through a lot together. We met because our older sisters, Jillian and Jenna, were friends. Noah and I relied on each other, and we began to need each other for emotional support when we were cruelly subjected to the terrible plays that Jillian and Jenna wrote and made us watch. All the plays were musicals, and I can't think of anything less a couple of 4-year-olds want to do than watch a musical written and performed by 8-year-olds. We never told anyone, but we were traumatized. But from that mortifying experience forged the foundations of a great friendship that lasted nearly 40 years. It's uncommon for even a 10-year-old to say they have known their friend their entire life. At 20, it's even more rare, something you can tell someone to get a wow in response. But to be 40 and be able to say that about your friend is truly special. When Noah was sick at a very young age, he and I spent a lot of time together. It was during that time that Noah helped foster my imagination, which is something I value a lot to this day. Noah always had the coolest stuff as a kid growing up in the 80s could ask for. Awesome action figures, plastic shields and swords, a huge video game collection, and the most legendary of hat collections. For 2 kids exploring their imaginations, there wasn't any more you could ask for. We would be the heroes against the evil overlord, or adventurers on an epic journey. Within the confines of the Leopold house, we had endless fun. To a young kid like myself, you didn't even notice Noah was sick. It's only looking back at that time as an adult where you could admire Noah's attitude and marvel at his bravery. And Noah was the source, the driving engine that fueled our games, and it was infectious. Other people were brought into the fold that would eventually become more friends for life. As we grew older, it was only the toys and games that changed. It morphed into video games and card games. Somehow, Noah and I were able to collaborate on a game for hours on end, still being able to fully immerse ourselves, putting on hold all the stuff that comes with adult life. And it's easy for someone to look at this from a distance and call it nonsense, but I know there were important lessons learned that will continue to pay off. For one, It's given me the ability to step back from stress and hardship and address what may be going on with my life with patience and calmness. And more importantly, now that I'm a father, I can't wait for the time where I can do all those things with my son. Teach him to use his imagination like Noah did for me, and participate in his life in the same unique way, and hopefully ignite in my son some of the life that Noah bestowed onto me. This is the thing that I always treasure most about my friendship with Noah, but is by no means the sum of our friendship. We played sports together, from Little League baseball as children, all the way to playing basketball just a few months ago. We ran interference for each other when the crazy neighbor dog Crystal tried to chase us down the street. Noah was there when I met my wife in high school, and I was there when he met Michelle. And we were so fortunate that our wives became great friends. That meant we could all get together to go out or just hang out. But the best of times, sorry Michelle's, were when the two of us can get away and delve into our weird little world for a couple of hours. And now that Noah is no longer with us, I can't help but feel there's a gaping hole in my life. I don't have the friend I've counted on for so long to call on a whim to talk about the Heat game, fantasy football, Civilization, or Dragon Warrior. I don't have the guaranteed double date or the nighttime spades game over Zoom. I do have, however, 40 years of cherished memories and the comfort that I was able to talk a long talk with him right before the end, and the knowledge that the stamp he put on my life is something that will never go away. I will miss my friend, the closest person I have to a brother, but I know a small piece of him is in me for the rest of my life, and I can take comfort in that. To Norman, Karen, Michelle, Jenna, Corey, Micah, and Brett, I know you've lost a piece of you. I cannot imagine your feeling of loss, but know that his impact on me and his other friends will live on.
The first time I thought about the possibility of this day was over 30 years ago, when Noah and I were first graders at Sinai Academy just outside the doors of this building. One night, my parents sat me down and explained that my friend Noah was sick and wouldn't be in school for a while, but that he would be back, and probably with a cast on his leg and a different hairstyle. I asked a lot of questions, and I cried a lot at the answers. The experience these last few weeks has been very similar. Thinking back, that time in first grade and this one are the only two negative experiences I had in literally my entire life knowing Noah. Everything before and in between was pure joy. My dad often says that English is such an incredible language because it has so many words. 500,000 by some estimations, depending on whether you count homophones as independent words, which seem like a discussion Noah would want to have at length. Even with all of that abundance of options, I had trouble and I struggled to find enough to describe the specialness of Noah Leopold. But here's a few. Resilient, determined, intrepid, and positive. When Noah returned to first grade with the cast on his leg and a bald head, I asked my friend, "How are you doing?" I was 7 years old. He said, "Awesome. I have great news for us. Because I have cancer, we get free tickets to a WWF match." That was 7-year-old Noah's view on going through chemo. Loyal, competitive, obsessive, and welcoming. When Noah met my wife, Nicole, who was my girlfriend at the time, they hit it off immediately, which is a common story with Noah. Afterwards, he said to me, "She's a real NBA fan. That's amazing. But a Knicks fan, bad choice." It's okay, we can work on that part. What I didn't tell him was what she said about him, which was, whoever marries him is going to be very lucky, because he's going to make an incredible husband. And Michelle, he was so proud to be your husband. Hardworking, unexpected, and voracious. Noah was never more than maybe 140 pounds maximum. Yet, on multiple occasions, I personally witnessed him eat 2 full Flanagan's Joe Meals deals. For those not lucky enough to know, that's 2 full racks of ribs, 2 baked potatoes, 6 garlic rolls, 2 Caesar salads, and because it was Noah, the optional coleslaw as well. That sauce-laden, smirking smile will never leave my mind. Enthusiastic, generous, fun-loving, as Uncle Stephen said, and joyful. Noah was so excited when Micah and Brett were born, and he became Uncle Noah. This was the role he was waiting for. One time he called me when he came back from Atlanta, and he sounded completely exhausted, like he had run a marathon. It turns out he had spent a Saturday with the Schulman boys eating pancakes, going to the aquarium, eating ice cream, and just wreaking havoc on the city of Atlanta. I could hear his smiling through the phone. There's way too many stories about how Noah personified these traits for me to share here today, so I'll save them for the years to come and close with this thought. As a parent myself, I spend a lot of time thinking about the traits that I want my children to have. And this list pretty much sums it up. So I want to say thank you to Norman and Karen, to Michelle, to Jenna and Corey, and to Micah and Brett for making Noah who he was and sharing him with all of us. We will be here for anything that you need forever. We love you, Noah.
I have the honor of having been one of Noah's very best friends. It's an honor I share with a lot of people. Noah and I became friends when I was 4 years old at an Indian princess's retreat. At the time it didn't make any sense, but now I realize that the reason Noah and I were there is because our dads wanted to give our moms a break. So I met Noah, and we ran around the field at night with flashlights at dusk, and we never stopped playing together. One of probably the most important game that Noah and I ever played together is called Magic the Gathering. Some of you might have heard of it. Noah and I started playing that game when we were about 11 years old, and our group of friends, a lot of us were playing it. But Noah and I were so competitive about it that I traded David Axon my Mario 64 game for his cards, and Noah traded Jared Seff something else for his cards, and all of a sudden Noah and I had the best Magic cards, and we had nobody to play with except each other. But that was fine. It was great. We didn't stop playing Magic the Gathering together. In fact, it was not that long ago that Noah and I had an entire system where we would call each other on the phone and bring out our Magic cards and play a Magic the Gathering game over the phone. And I would have to tell him like what stuff I had out, and he would have to tell me, and I'd be like, I brought out the Shivan Dragon, and Noah would be like, oh yeah, it's the 5/5 Flying Pumple, obviously. And we just had an encyclopedic knowledge of the game. But I mean, it's such a ridiculous thing for 30-year-old men with wives to do, but we loved it, and we just wanted any opportunity to spend time together and play games together, because that's what we love to do. I'm going to admit something now that I never told Noah. Noah was better than me. So in your prayers, please leave that fact out. I never told him. I don't want him to know. So, sorry, I'm going to talk more about Magic the Gathering. So for those who don't know the game, it's like many other games of imperfect information. You know all the cards that are out on the board, you know what you have in your hand, but you don't know what your opponent has, and you don't know what cards you're going to draw next. And Noah was so good at this game because he just had such a strategic mind about looking at the board and figuring out everything that was going on, looking at his opponent, thinking about what he might have in his hand and how to respond to it, and thinking about what types of cards might come up next and what to do in each eventuality. He was just able to maximize his probability of winning by just taking in so much input and making good decisions. He also, he never gave up in these games, which was really frustrating. Sometimes, in the game it would seem like you're definitely going to win, and Noah wouldn't just forfeit the game. I'm like, Noah, why don't you forfeit? And he would do something really unorthodox. It would take me a turn or so to figure out what he was trying to do. He knew that the only way he could win is if this card popped up at this time. And lo and behold, the card would pop up, Noah would unexpectedly beat me, and I'd go, Noah, you're so lucky. Noah was lucky in a lot of ways. I mean, he was born into an amazing family, a really awesome family who loved him and took amazing care of him, wonderful people. He had an amazing, huge group of friends, and that's not lucky necessarily, but if our sisters weren't in the Indian princesses together, maybe we would never have met. And he was born with just this incredible mind that led him to success in so many ways, not just Magic the Gathering. He found love, real love. But if you ask me, Gordon, was Noah a lucky man? No, he wasn't lucky. I'm going to pivot for a second because I want to talk about Noah's tenacity a little bit and do something that nobody ever likes. I'm going to tell you about a dream I had. I had this dream 2 nights after Noah's first transplant surgery that went so wrong. He was laying in a hospital bed with no heart. And I dreamt that we were at a big conference table, and Norman and Karen and Jenna were there, and Noof and Mike were there, and it was a big conference table, so we were all there, okay? And Noah and Norman were debating about something. It was not related to health. It was something, about the law firm or something like that. And Norman says, give me one reason that we should do this. And Noah says, because it gives us one more day. Norman said, okay, let's do it. So Noah got really excited. He got up, he got pumped up. He goes, yeah, we can do this. And he points to me. And he goes, Gordon, we can do this. So I stood up. And I said, yeah, we can do this. He comes over, he gives me a big hug. Then he goes to Noof. He goes, Noof, we can do this. He does the same thing with everybody at the table, just giving us faith and giving us hope. And I woke up from this dream knowing that Noah was not going to give up. If there's anything that Noah could have done to still be with us today, he would be. Because he loved us so much and he loved life. He wanted to be with us. But he wasn't lucky. He just kept getting the wrong card over and over and over again. He's not gone, okay? He's not gone. Next time I play a game of Magic the Gathering and I have an important decision to make, I'll determine whether I win or lose. Noah's going to be there and he's going to be talking me through it. What does the board look like? What can you do to maximize your chance of winning? Look at your opponent. What do you think your opponent is trying to do? Is there a crazy outside-the-box solution that you can use to try to solve this problem? Are you going to give up? The next time our friends are together and somebody tells a joke and everybody's laughing, I'm going to hear that gurgly laugh. Next time I'm thinking about how I'm going to treat people, how to be a good friend. He's not gone. He's still here. He's in our hearts. He's making our lives brighter. And he's making the world better through us, too.
Good morning. I wanted to say a few words about my dear friend, Noah. We have only been friends for a short 12 years. However, he has impacted my life greatly and positively. I can confidently say he was my best friend, as I'm sure many here can say the same. He was a best friend to many. He welcomed me into his family, and we shared many good times. He was my cruising buddy. We both enjoyed our many weekend dining outings. He was able to be a great listener and a valued source of advice. A master and thorough negotiator, we spent many hours researching and shopping for new cars together. An impartial and likely reluctant referee between my brother and I. An endless source of conversation and an admirable man of many talents. Words escape me. I just wanted to say a little something about my friend. I'm very heartbroken and I'll miss him terribly.
Read something prepared by Edon Havis, another great friend of Noah who couldn't make it because he lives in Australia. Hello, my name is Edon Havis. I live in Sydney, Australia, and Noah was my best friend of 35 years. It's been hard writing these lines because I couldn't find the exact words to describe our relationship and all the feelings involved in it. I met Noah in first grade at Temple Sinai. After immigrating from Israel to Miami, we instantly became best friends, and I spent my entire childhood growing up in his house. Karen and Norman are like parents to me. Jenna is akin to a sister. Even though I was far away, I was the person he turned to when things got rough. I knew his secrets, desires, and fears. He was the same for me. We had no secrets, never lied to each other. We're always brutally honest and full of respect. He let me into his inner world, into his mind and his deepest corners of his soul, and so did I. Noah was an amazing person, but everyone here already knows that. I'm a die-hard Heat fan because of Noah. His unwavering support of the Miami Heat was infectious. This may come as no surprise to anyone, but of course Noah's last words to me were via text message just before his surgery, and said, "People comparing Edwards to D. Wade, what a joke." I have so many fond memories of Norman, Noah, and I going to Heat, Panther, and Marlin games together along with my dad. Memories of watching Back to the Future over 100 times, playing video games and spying on Jenna. I cannot put into words how special my bond is with Noah. Noah has shaped my life in ways that can't be put into words. I became a successful lawyer because of the impact Noah and his amazing family had on me. Noah helped me with my homework when I needed it. He even let me cheat off him as long as I didn't get him in trouble. And that's true friendship. He drove me to do more and more. Nobody was more proud of my achievements than Noah. Noah introduced me to some amazing friends growing up as well. Matt Neufeld, Mike Knoll, Jamie Sugarman, Jared Seff, Axon, Gordon, Logue, Sebastian, Gabe, and so many more. Our friendships were rich with love and amazing memories throughout the decades. In the end, he was the glue that kept us all together, commissioning fantasy football leagues for decades. He was someone you can always count on. In the end, Noah made me, well, all of us, better people. I don't think any of us will ever be the same without Noah, but that really shows what an impact he had on all of us, and that is something that will last forever. One day, his departure will make me stronger, but for now, it has made me more emotional and more vulnerable than I've ever been. Today, while I can't be there in person, but will be watching live, I want to communicate these words with deep sadness in my heart and our dear friends, Noah's loving family and loved ones. I know many of us feel honored and special for knowing the amazing person that Noah was. Noah showed me that no matter what, no matter how hard life can be, we must learn from it every day and embrace every moment of it because we never know how or when it's going to end. Noah and I often spoke about giving back to the community, values instilled by Norman and Karen at a young age. We promised each other that we would give as much as we could to charity when we could. Noah really believed that the more you give, the more you get back, and that is reflected in his support of the nonprofit organization JELF, Jewish Educational Loan Fund, which, as many of you know, Jenna has led for the last 9 years, and that Noah was very proud to support. In Noah's name, I have planned to start a fund. It is an absolute honor to be the first person to make a donation to the fund in the amount of $50,000. With this, I will continue to ensure that with these funds, we help to change students' lives for the better, just like Noah would have wanted. I'm hoping that everyone in this room will support this fund over time as well, so we can all ensure that Noah's legacy continues to impact the lives of individuals for the foreseeable future. Jenna will provide everyone the details when it's time. Finally, I must thank you, Noah, for having such an impact on my life and making it rich with love and friendship. You always said that only the sky's the limit, and I just hope I can continue to make you proud. Regards, Idan.
For some of you who may not know me, I'm Jenna, Noah's older sister by 3.5 years, and this is my family, Corey, Micah, and Brett. Noah and I grew up here at Temple Sinai from both our baby namings, bar and bat mitzvah, plays, holidays, confirmations, the funerals of 3 of our grandparents, and many other times to remember along the way. Temple Sinai has always been a very special place to both of us, and that's why being here today amongst all of Noah's family and all of our friends and to honor and celebrate Noah's life is so fitting. When Noah was first diagnosed with cancer, I was in 5th grade and will never forget how scared I was to learn about what he was going to have to endure. But not only did Noah beat the odds by surviving Ewing sarcoma at the age of 8, but he continued to beat the odds his whole life, never skipping a beat as he worked to pursue his education, his many hobbies, and of course his friendships that you got to hear about, despite all of the health difficulties that he faced. While Noah and I fought, as most siblings do, by the time I left for the University of Florida, he had become my best friend, the one who I voluntarily chose to share some of life's most meaningful moments with. And today, because of Noah, my life is filled with countless memories that we've shared, so many of which we just really loved to reminisce about. Noah loved memories. He loved both making them and then he loved remembering them for years to come. Noah was the first person that I chose to drive with after I got my driver's license, the first person that I had a legal drink with when I turned 21, never mind the fact that he was only 17 and he chose grape Manischewitz. Noah was the only one who helped me when I moved to Atlanta 21 years ago when I was accepted to Emory, and Noah was the first person I confided in when I knew that Corey was the one. Noah was always incredibly accepting of me and all my flaws, even when we were children. He never had anything bad to say and always was available to listen and to talk, except during his 3 years of law school. When Corey and I got married, Noah was the only friend that I asked to give a toast. And of course, those who were at the wedding will probably not forget him coaxing Corey gently down the aisle when Corey got nervous right before the ceremony. When our first son, Micah, was born, Noah could not have been more proud to become his Uncle Noah and quickly began doting on him as only an uncle without children of his own could ever do. And then when Brett came along 3 years later, Noah was so happy, and he loved both of his nephews with all of his heart. Even though they didn't get to know him as a child, he seemed like one, from his constant love of video games and his sweet and funny nature. I'll never forget the time when Brett, who was 5 at the time, asked me how old you have to be to attend law school. And when I asked him why, he said, well, because Uncle Noah is a kid and he goes to law school, so I'm just trying to figure this all out. Noah and I were very different, but we were also the same in many, many ways. And as a close friend who'd met us both in the last decade recently described, it was somewhat similar to a twin vibe where I could read his expressions and he mine and always felt like we could understand what the other one was thinking. When I began leading JELF 9 years ago, Noah was incredibly interested and proud of this cause, which held special meaning in both of our lives, as higher education was something that he never stopped pursuing despite his chronic health obstacles along the way. Noah was proud to participate in our annual loan reviews, and he would be extremely honored that many have contributed to not only JELF, but to Temple Sinai and the URJ in his honor. And thank you, Edan in Australia, for your meaningful idea to create a fund through JELF in Noah's memory, because I know he would have loved it. When Noah met Michelle, we were so happy for him and so grateful that he found someone who truly loved him for who he was. Michelle, we know that you feel very alone right now, but you will always be a part of our family, and I'm so lucky to have you as a sister, and as an aunt to our boys, and we need you in our lives. While Noah and I did not live in the same city, throughout the past 11 years, Noah had become like the third parent that Corey and I never even knew we needed. From the countless nights each week that we would just prop him up on FaceTime in our kitchen while we were making dinner or helping the boys with homework or just having normal conversations, Noah always made the time to be there for us, listen, lend great advice, which I know he did as well with the countless best friends and all of the people he knew and collected throughout different stages of his life. And I know that those of us who are closest with him feel so lost without him. Maybe because Noah did have health struggles, but also because he really just was that incredible. But I am extremely grateful to have told Noah how much he meant to all of us so many times over the course of his life. And I know that while this is so unfair for all he had to fight for, all he fought for, and that he just lived to achieve. This wasn't supposed to happen this way, but the important thing is that he knew how much love he had right until the end. While we will never, ever stop missing Noah and shedding tears for all the memories that we were still supposed to make, I am truly the luckiest sister on earth for the 40 years that I got with this extra special brother and best friend, and for all the special times that Noah and I shared and how much he gave of himself to our entire family. Thank you so much to all of our dear family, friends, colleagues, and more for being here with us in person or through the live stream to listen to our memories and to share back with us as we honor the life of my brother Noah, who was taken far too soon but will never be forgotten.
One of the things we loved most about our Uncle Noah is he was fun. For example, when we came down to visit him, he always took us to Dave & Buster's. He was the best at video games. Also, he was loving. He always knew what would make us happy more times than we can count. He was the best uncle Micah and I could ever get. Noah was never afraid of anything. I know we will both remember him forever. We will never forget our Uncle Noah. We love him.
I'll be brief. I always feel very much at home here in Florida with this family and this community. It's not because I grew up here, it's because this family, the Leopolds, which I joined about 15 years ago. As you've all heard and you all know, they're extremely loving and thoughtful and empathetic and extremely fun. We have a lot of fun. But if you look and you lay all those characteristics out that everyone's talked about today, and you look at where they all overlap, that was Noah. He was just the perfect mix of all these great characteristics, something that we all aspire to be and do. A beautiful person, and a beautiful brother, and a beautiful uncle. I think many of us feel like we've lost more than a family or a friend. I think what I feel is I feel like I've lost a piece of my home. But in this past week, I can still hear Noah's voice in Papa. And I can feel Noah when I hug Michelle. And I certainly see Noah in my boys' decisions and interests. And I certainly see Noah and Noah's friends. So I think that gives me some hope. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Here, Micah.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to read this on behalf of Michelle. Noah, these past few weeks have truly been the most difficult weeks of my life. I never expected to go through the most profound pain of losing you so early. Clearly, you had this incredible effect on so many people, more than I even realized. You had this wonderful balance of being both youthful and wise beyond your years at the same time. Though you were a truly wonderful, kind, thoughtful, and compassionate person, it's not just the positive qualities about you and our relationship that I miss, but even these seemingly small things that I never thought I would miss now that feel so significant. No, I miss you arguing with me that we could never get a dog until you eventually gave in. Then I watched you go from someone who was terrified of any extra responsibilities to slowly falling in love with our beloved dog, Sunny, who you formed a special bond with from the beginning. When you began cooking for him daily and planning our meals based on what we were going to feed him that night, I knew it was true love. I miss the times you pushed me to attend social events with friends and become closer to your family. After 2 weeks of Jenna and I sleeping at the hospital and visiting you every moment we could, and all of the time I've spent with your parents sharing memory after memory, if you could see us now, you'd be shocked at how this horrible tragedy of losing you has truly bonded us forever. I miss when I tried to get you off the phone with your friends late at night so we could finally go to sleep. The irony is that while the sound of your voice used to keep me awake, it is now the absence of your voice that keeps me up at night. And instead of you on the phone with them, I'm the one calling them now late at night, trying to process everything that has happened. I'm so grateful to all of your friends who have been there for me. I miss the frequent and unsolicited advice you give me. You were so insightful and always came up with thoughtful solutions to any problems, and clearly not just mine, but to all of those that were close with you. I may not have appreciated it then, but now I want nothing more than to hear all of your words of wisdom. And while I could go on about all those things I miss, the last one I have to mention is how I miss your sentimental attachment to things. You treated everything and anyone in your life as valuable, right down to the collection of your old, tattered Miami Heat shirts that you insisted in sleeping with. And now all I want is to treasure these sentimental things. For some of you that don't know the story, Noah and I met on New Year's Eve 9 years ago. At our wedding, the poem A Marriage by Michael Blumenthal was read. There is one part of this poem that says, "You are holding up a ceiling with both arms. It is very heavy, but you must hold it up or else it will fall down on you." But then unexpectedly, something wonderful happens. Someone walks into the room and holds up their arms to the ceiling beside you. So you finally get to take down your arms, and when your partner's arms tire, you hold up your own to relieve them again. Noah, I tried to hold these things for you when things got really tough, but now I've lost you and my world has collapsed around me. I miss you so much it hurts. I miss our past together, but mostly I miss visualizing the bright future you had ahead of you and the future we should have shared together. I'm sorry for what happened to you, and I promise that we will never let your memory fade, and we will always work hard to try and make you proud.
Thank you all for being here today. It means so much to Karen and me and Michelle and Jenna, Corey, Micah, and Brett. We cherish all of the love and support you've shown us over the last week and weeks before. How can any parent ever imagine one day standing here and delivering a eulogy for their child? Some people asked how I could stand up and speak without breaking down. I guess it remains to be seen. Noah always said that I was a crybaby, because I would often find myself getting very teary-eyed while meeting with his doctors. So many of you have told how Noah impacted your lives, and we appreciate all those stories. But Karen and I want to share with you a small part of Noah's story and how he affected our lives. Noah was born on October 10th, 1982, 10-10. We always said that he was a perfect 10, and so he remained his entire life. Noah grew into one of the most remarkable young men we ever knew. He was always our hero. He was a typical little boy. He loved to play, swim, wrestle, and do other sports. He made long-lasting friendships from an early age, as you've heard from so many of the boys, and from so many of the boys, his friends that are here this morning we've seen grow into such wonderful young men. Many of these friends grew up in our home, and we love you all. Noah's always got along with everyone. As an adult, Noah adored his two nephews, Micah and Brett, and they adored him because he treated them as little kids, not as little kids, but rather as equals. He always spent quality time with them. Noah adored his time with Aunt Lynn, Aunt Adrian, and Aunt Judy, and his uncles Norty, Brian, and Stephen, as well as all of his cousins, and we're amazed that all of them have traveled here today to be with us. In late 1989, when Noah had just turned 7, I took him to his first soccer game, and it was here at Temple Sinai. He had a great time, but the next day his first grade teacher sent a note home that Noah was complaining his leg hurt. Because he played soccer the day before and seeing that he was walking with a limp, we felt it would be better to keep him home from school the next day. However, that night was Halloween, and Noah said he was better and insisted we take him trick-or-treating. Michael Noel reminded me that he remembers that night very well. We watched Noah as he struggled to walk up to homes and ring the doorbells, and I wound up having to carry him back to our house. The next day, we took him to our orthopedist, who suggested we get an MRI. We didn't even know what an MRI was back then. The doctor, who is a personal friend, called and told us he wasn't sure what was wrong with his leg, but we should see an orthopedic specialist in Boston. We quickly left for Boston a few days later to see this world-famous surgeon. After a biopsy, we got the devastating news. Noah had a rare form of bone cancer, and we were suddenly thrown into a whole new world. We went back to Miami, where the doctors insisted he should have his leg amputated. The doctor in Boston disagreed and said that with a relatively new medical treatment, he believed he would be able to save his life and prevent the spread of the cancer. There was never any hesitation on Karen's and my part but to travel back to Boston for the surgery. We were not going to let his leg get amputated if there was any chance it could be saved without, at the same time, endangering his health. The leg was saved, and we then just had to proceed with the chemo treatment. Within a matter of weeks, he lost all of his hair, and due to rigid course of chemotherapy, his weight dropped to 35 pounds. The protocol was universal for every child with the same form of cancer, so we were told. We were told the drugs were not without side effects, though, one of which is that it could result in heart issues later in life. All we cared about at the moment was saving his life. But after each chemo treatment, Noah got very sick and his immune system was shot. We wound up back in the hospital again and again for intravenous antibiotics. And it went on like that for months when we realized that our hospital bills were suddenly tripling. After reviewing the bills, our oncologist told us that the bills were accurate, but that he accidentally increased Noah's dosage as his weight dropped rather than decrease it to accommodate the loss of his weight. It was simply a horrible mathematical mistake. Sadly, the one drug he was overdosed with was the one that causes heart issues. They told us just to be grateful that Noah was alive and that maybe more chemo would result in a better outcome. Turns out they were wrong. As you can imagine, having a child with cancer is very challenging. But we were extremely fortunate to have so much support and love from many of you here today who remember those times. And we were so blessed to have my beloved parents, Irving and Dorothy, and Karen's beloved mom, Florence, and our longtime housekeeper, Sybil, who were constantly at his side, whether in the hospital or at home. Noah was also so lucky to have the love and support of his big sister, Jenna, throughout his treatment and recovery. Noah was never alone at the hospital. Karen and I would take turns sleeping there while the other would be at home with Jenna. One day, Noah asked us if we would teach him the game of hearts. He used to see us playing hearts all the time with our friends. We told him that he was much too young to learn such an adult game. But he insisted, and so we taught him at the hospital. And within a short time, he was beating us regularly. Noah used to see us playing poker with his grandpa Irving, his uncle Norty, his uncle Brian, and his uncle Stanley. So he told his grandpa and me that he wanted to learn to play poker. All of his uncles thought it was cute. That is until he started beating them. When he was in the hospital, I would often wake up in the middle of the night to find him playing poker with his nurses for matchsticks. We wound up with a ton of matchsticks. He quickly mastered all the Nintendo games that were just starting to come out. He asked me to teach him chess, and by the age of 8, he was clearly outthinking and outmaneuvering me and capturing my king. I was just no competition for him. By age 12, he taught himself to play bridge. When I asked him how he learned, he said that he started studying a program on the computer. And just recently, we took a Rubik's Cube with us to the Mayo Clinic, and we said that we would see who finished it first. And he clearly finished it within a few days, and I promised him that I would finish it before he woke up. Sadly, I never did. Noah loved music, and at a young age, he learned all of the theme songs from his favorite shows. He would also always walk around the house singing the Ninja Turtle song or Be My Guest from Beauty and the Beast, just to name a few. He loved Frank Sinatra and the Dean Martin songs, along with all the contemporary bands of the time. He even loved classical music. He loved to read and to watch old movies. If he liked a movie, he had to see it at least a dozen times until he started learning all the lines. He loved the 10 Commandments, The Wizard of Oz, and most of all, Back to the Future. We watched all 3 parts dozens of times. We never got to watch Game of Thrones together, but whenever we traveled, we would spend hours talking about the various episodes and quizzing each other. He loved to watch Jeopardy with us. Karen is really good. I'm so-so. But Noah was always amazing and always answering the questions before us. Noah was an avid sports fan, as you've heard. He loved to play basketball and lived for the Miami Heat. In fact, right now, he is dressed in the uniform of his favorite player, Tim Hardaway. He knew every player on every team. Michael Knoll told us the other night that Noah knew the starting lineup of all the NBA teams. Throughout the years, we had season tickets for the Heat, the Marlins, the Panthers, and the Dolphins. We saved a fortune when he finally went to college and I was able to cancel all my season tickets. But he made me promise not to cancel the Heat. And boy, as you heard others say, did he like to eat. I remember one time at a Heat game, and he was probably 9 years old or so, and he ate 4 hot dogs. Not just 4 hot dogs, he ate 4 hot dogs that were loaded. People used to be amazed watching him go in and out of the line with another hot dog. And when it was done, he made sure we got him a sundae. It was almost 5 years to the day after his last chemo treatment that Noah and I went to the Marlins opening game. Noah struggled to walk up the ramp. Karen took Noah to the doctor the next day. We feared the cancer had come back, but the doctors knew at once that it was his heart. The chemotherapy had taken its toll. He was 13 years old when we first heard he may one day need a heart transplant. I remember breaking down and crying. When he was 18, he was accepted at the University of Florida and roomed with some of the same young men he grew up with. At the University of Florida, he met new friends, and many of them are also here today. He worked very hard to get his bachelor's degree in accounting and his master's in taxation. He then went to work at Grant Thornton and made new friends, and I know that some of them are also here today. He took his CPA exam and passed it on the first try. I remember how proud and impressed we were when he told us that he was asked to give a seminar to other CPAs, and he never shied away from public speaking. Noah loved to travel. In high school, he went on the High School in Israel program for a summer, and later went to Europe a couple of times with Karen and me. We always had so much fun together. He was a great travel companion. In 2012, we went on a trip with Noah to Italy and France. He was excited to tell us at the airport that he was promoted to manager at Grant Thornton. And he was so happy that the night before, the Miami Heat had won the NBA championship. Hard to tell which piece of news made him happier, but I suspect it was the Heat. It was on that trip that we could see how Noah struggled to walk up hilly streets. We knew when we got back that he would need to return to the doctor to check it out. The next year and a half was difficult for him. Noah's heart was getting worse. Working at Grant Thornton was becoming more strenuous. The long hours he was putting in were impairing his health. We finally discussed his leaving Grant Thornton and coming to work at our firm, where he wouldn't be under the same stress. Our partner and our close friend, Gary Korn, was very supportive. Plus, it gave Gary another male in the office to talk sports with. Noah had already clerked at our office over the years and was close with all our staff, and all the women in the office adored him and loved to teach him how to dance salsa, both in and outside the office. I would often walk in the kitchen and see him dancing with one of our secretaries or paralegals or another, and all of them are here today to support and love Noah. We ultimately decided that Noah needed better health care than he was getting in Miami. So in June 2014, after consulting with his cardiologist, Noah and I traveled to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. He was so sick at the time that he could barely walk the hallways in the airport. After a battery of tests, the cardiologist called us up to his office on a Thursday afternoon, and we were walking around the streets of Rochester, and we weren't supposed to meet with him until the day before, and the following day, and we knew that getting a call on that Thursday afternoon was not good news. He told Noah he was very sick, that he needed to be hospitalized immediately and listed for a heart and liver transplant. We were in shock. I was in tears. Noah said he wanted to first go back to Miami and meet with his doctor, Hanneberg, whom he trusted for everything medical. Noah insisted he could and would get better. We returned to Mayo a month later so Noah could be worked up for a listing, but to the doctor's surprise, he did see improvements in his health. He told us to come back every 3 months for the time being, and each time we returned, Noah was either better or stable, and this went on for 9 years. Shortly after our trip to Mayo in 2015, Jen and Corey invited Noah and us to meet them in Disney for Micah's 3rd birthday. I'll never forget how Noah told us in the car that he met a girl he liked. It took a few more months before Noah decided to introduce us to Michelle. We immediately knew why Noah had fallen in love with her. She's beautiful, smart, and most importantly for us as parents, she loved Noah despite all his health issues. She made Noah so happy. No parents can ask for anything more. We were so thrilled when they finally got engaged and we got to meet her parents, Shirley and Sam. For years, Noah thought about going to law school, but due to his health concerns, he didn't know if he would be able to withstand the studying and pressures. In the spring of 2018, he decided to apply to Nova Southeastern Law School. He thought if he got in, he would try, and if he didn't, he would figure out another career path. Not only did he get in, he got a scholarship. Noah and Michelle were married only a few weeks before he started law school. And for Michelle, being a new bride and now having to deal with a first-year law student is not easy. To her credit, Michelle was extremely supportive, not only of his going to law school, but in all of the ventures he wanted. To no one's surprise, Noah loved law school. He excelled in all his courses, getting his book award a few times, becoming a teacher assistant, working with students in the tax courses and other subjects. He even worked with one of his professors in publishing a book where he got a special mention in the credits. And as I was reading my speech this morning, I was going, I'll never see that book. I never asked him to give me a copy of the book. But the professor is here today, and she shared the book with me. So we thank Professor Elena Maria Marty Nelson for doing that. Two of his professors shared how wonderful Noah was as a student. He made lots of new friends, as you heard from today from the three lovely ladies who spoke here about their time with Noah in law school. He graduated summa cum laude and sixth in his class. When he took the Florida bar, he finished in the top 1%. When it was time to get sworn in, Justice Robert Luck of the United States Courts of Appeal offered to swear him in a private and one of the most beautiful and meaningful and memorable ceremonies I've ever seen. I should also mention that Robert grew up in our home. Gary, Karen, and I offered Noah a position in our law firm a few months before graduation. We knew he could have gotten a job at a much bigger law firm, but he really wanted to work for us. It was COVID time, and we were in the process of moving our offices, so it took a while for Noah to get his office, but we all took such pride in hanging all of his diplomas and all of his awards. As time went on, however, his heart got worse. Starting last December, we saw big changes in his condition. In February, we went back to the Mayo Clinic. Noah was told it was now time to get listed for transplant. In typical fashion for Noah, he asked for more time so he could do what he did 9 years earlier, get better. The doctors agreed to give him some more time. Noah worked very hard to improve his health. He exercised, we walked together, we biked together almost every day. But when he returned to Mayo last June, there was no question but now was the time to move forward. On August 4th, Noah, Karen, and I moved to Rochester with high expectations that Noah would finally get a new heart. Noah was terrified that something would go wrong, but at the same time, he prayed that he would finally learn what it is to feel good in life. Sadly, everything went wrong. The transplanted heart was not viable, and Noah was left for 8 days on machines with no heart and an open chest. Finally, he received a healthy heart, but by then too much damage had been done. His beautiful body could withstand no more. He developed a brain bleed, and the next morning he passed away. Despite having a bad heart and then no heart, Noah had the biggest heart of anyone we knew. Noah was always so kind and empathetic. The bonds Noah had with so many people are incredible, but the bond he had with his sister Jenna, her husband Corey, and their sons Mike and Brett was so rare. Jenna, we know how much Noah meant to you and how much you meant to him. We love you so much. As you heard already, Jenna and Michelle slept at the hospital every night and wouldn't leave Noah's side for a minute. Noah was Corey's best friend, and Corey loved Noah very much. Michelle, you have been the perfect wife for Noah. He adored you. You were his beshert. Noah would do anything for you, and I know you would do anything for him. On October 10th, 1982, I was with Noah the moment he entered the world, and on September 9th, I held his hand the moment he left as the sun was setting on the final Shabbat of 5783. He may have left this world, but will never leave our hearts. Sadly, we went to the Mayo Clinic to get him a new heart and a new life, and instead we all left Minnesota with our hearts forever shattered. So how did Noah affect our lives? He made us much better, more loving parents. He made us more empathetic to others. And in his short time as an attorney, he made me a much better lawyer. Noah, you touched so many lives, and all our lives will never be the same without you. Noah always loved family hugs. So when anyone asks us what they can do for us, my answer is just to extend your support, your love. Tell us your stories, lots of stories, and give Karen and me lots of hugs. We love you, Noah. We love you so much and cherish every day we had with you.
In moments like these, we are painfully aware that human beings do not live forever. We live less than the time it takes to blink an eye if we measure our life against eternity. And so we ask, what value is there to human life? There's so much pain in the world. What does it mean to suffer so much if our lives are nothing more than a blink of the eye? A blink of an eye is nothing in and of itself. But the eye that blinks, that is something. You can fill that tiny span with meaning, so its quality is measurable, though its quantity may seem insignificant. People like Noah fill their lives with meaning, because meaning is not automatically given to life. Now, we know that we return Noah, certainly his spirit, to God who gave it. We invite you to stand as we ask God to take him under God's protection with El Malei Rachamim.
Malei Rachamim, Shochen V'meromim, Hametzeh Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina B'ma'alot Kedoshim U'Tehorim Kezohar Arakia Mazirim Et Nishemat Noach ben Chaim Lev ופרום אחודה שלח לעולמו בעל רחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור ביצרור החיים את נשמתו אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר אמן.
O God, full of compassion, you who dwell on high, grant perfect rest to the soul of Noah Leopold, who has departed from this world. Source of mercy, bring him into your presence and let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternity. Be his possession and may his repose be peace. So again, together we say, Amen. I invite you to take a seat for just one moment. Just a reminder that the family will be sitting Shiva Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday Thursday from 5 to 8 p.m. on Monday, tonight and tomorrow night, here at Temple Sinai in the Wiener Social Hall right behind you. And then on Wednesday and Thursday at the Leopold's home, there will be a Shiva Minyan at 6 p.m. each of those nights. Final day of Shiva will be on Friday, and that will be at the Leopold home. There will be a Shiva Minyan at 9 a.m., 9 o'clock in the morning. We will be going straight from here to Lakeside. So we're going to invite the following people up to be pallbearers, and then Michael Blasberg will give us directions in terms of going to your cars and making sure that you are able to follow along with the escort. So our pallbearers today: Lynn Turry, Jeff Agron, Robin Agron, Allison Anderley, Stephen Seltzer, Adrian Seltzer, Ethan Seltzer, Elliot Seltzer, Rachel Roth, and Gary Korn.
So those of you that the rabbi just called to be pallbearers, please come forward to the casket. Those of you that are not going to the cemetery, it'll be very important and helpful to us if you exit the parking lot as quickly as possible, not in speed, but just not hang out there and in the lobbies. Those of you that are going to the cemetery, please go right to your cars, turn your high beams, flashers on. In both lobbies are these orange placards. They'll hang from the mirror. We will have motorcycle escorts that direct us. The procession is going to line up depending on which side of the parking lot. It'll be on the north side, so come around and just pull over by the north gate within the perimeters of the synagogue. We will have escorts. So may I ask everybody to rise, and after the casket and family have an opportunity to exit the synagogue, then follow behind again, going to the cemetery, high beams, flashers, and placards. Thank you.